Okay, so picture this. At the two absolute extremes of our planet, two really strange stories went viral. One was this heartbreaking video of an animal on its final journey. The other was this bizarre power play between nations. And on the surface, they have nothing to do with each other. But trust me, they're two sides of the exact same world-changing coin. Let's figure out how.
So first, there was this clip, and you've probably seen it. You see this lone penguin just break away from its colony, turn its back on the ocean, on safety, on food, and just start marching with this weird determination straight into the empty, frozen heart of Antarctica. A walk to certain death. The internet, of course, went wild with theories. But the real story? Oh, it's so much weirder.
Then, thousands of miles away, at the North Pole, this headline pops up. The President of the United States suddenly wants to buy Greenland, this massive, ice-covered territory belonging to Denmark. I mean, it sounds like the punchline to a joke, right? But here's the thing. It was dead serious. So why this sudden, crazy desire for a giant island of ice?
All right, so for this explainer, we're basically going to become detectives. We're going to solve these two riddles from the poles, we'll dig into that penguin's tragic final march, and we'll look at America's strange obsession with ice. And what we're going to find is that by solving them, we uncover a much, much bigger story, one that actually affects every single one of us.
Okay, so let's start in the south. We're heading to the coldest, driest, most brutal continent on the planet, Antarctica. This is where our first mystery kicks off.
So, this clip actually came from a documentary way back in 2007, but it just blew up online years later, and it left millions of people scratching their heads asking the same exact question. What on earth was going on inside that little penguin's head?
You know, on social media, people saw us. They saw a story of depression, or a broken heart, maybe even some kind of noble sacrifice. But the scientists, they had a much colder, almost mechanical explanation. They essentially called it a psychotic breakdown, a total catastrophic failure of its internal navigation system.
See, penguins have this amazing built-in GPS. It's biological. They use the Earth's magnetic field, the sun, the stars, even the smell of the ocean to find their way across hundreds of kilometers and get right back to where they were born. But just like any complex system, it can break. Extreme stress, an infection, or just plain starvation can cause this whole system to glitch out. And when it does, the penguin gets locked onto a new, fatal heading, and it just can't turn back.
Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. The penguin in that video isn't just any penguin. It's an Adelie penguin, and these guys are known for being super clever and resourceful. Their behavior is a world away from their more famous cousins, the emperor penguins.
I mean, just look at how different their strategies are. The emperor penguin? That's the ultimate selfless dad. The male treks 100 kilometers inland, and then just stands there for 4 months in a brutal winter, starving, all while balancing an egg on his feet. He'll lose half his body weight just to keep his chick alive. The Adelie, though, they're scrappy survivors. Parents take turns. And their most famous trait? They're little thieves. They build nests out of stones and have no problem swiping a few from their neighbors to build a better home. So to see a social, clever creature like that, with its survival instincts just completely shattered, that makes its solo journey even more tragic.
Okay, so we've seen this instinctual, tragic struggle for survival. Now let's pivot. We're going to travel to the other side of the planet to a very human, very calculated struggle for power. So the big question, why Greenland? And why all the fuss right now? Well, to get it, we've got to look at a little bit of history. And then we need to look deep, deep under all that ice.
You know, this whole idea of the US buying Greenland, it wasn't some crazy new idea that just popped up. Nope. This is an American ambition that's over a century and a half old. The first try was way back in 1867. President Taft had to go in 1910. After World War II, President Truman offered what would be over $1 billion today in solid gold. So when the idea came up again in 2019, it was just the latest chapter. It's pretty clear the US has always seen something huge and strategic in that island.
For a long time, the value was all about the military. You know, it's a perfect spot right between Russia and America. But today the real prize isn't its location on a map. It's what's buried underneath that 2-kilometer thick sheet of ice.
And here's what that prize looks like. Greenland is sitting on a massive treasure trove of what we call rare earth elements. These are literally the building blocks of all future tech. We're talking about neodymium for electric vehicle motors, Gallium for AI chips, uranium for nuclear power, silicon for all our semiconductors. Look, whoever controls these minerals controls the economy of the 21st century. And right now, China controls over 90% of the world's supply. That's a big deal.
And it doesn't even stop there. On top of all those minerals for our green future, there's also the fuel of our past and present. Surveys estimate that just one part of Greenland's coast could hold over 31 billion barrels of oil. It's an economic jackpot completely locked away by ice. But that ice is starting to melt.
And this is where our two stories collide. This is the link between our lost little penguin and a superpower's massive ambition. It's the one thing that's reshaping both the natural world and global politics. A planet that is getting warmer, fast.
Okay, so this is the key takeaway. The very same warming that is threatening the entire ecosystem in Antarctica, making life a nightmare for penguins, is doing the exact opposite in the Arctic. It's literally unlocking Greenland's wealth. And even more important, it's opening up a brand new frontier that people have been dreaming about for centuries.
And this is the ultimate prize, the legendary Northwest Passage. For 500 years, explorers desperately searched for this sea route over the top of the world, a shortcut between the Atlantic and the Pacific. But they were always stopped by thick, unbreakable ice. Well, that ice is vanishing, and what it's revealing is a new maritime highway that is going to completely change global trade as we know it.
Just think about what a game changer this is. Right now, a cargo ship going from China to London has to go all the way through the Suez Canal. But if it could take this new Arctic route, it would shave off 9,000 kilometers. That's like 10 to 15 days of travel time and millions of dollars in fuel saved on a single trip. This is a total revolution in logistics.
And guess what? Greenland sits right at the front door of this new global superhighway. Whoever controls Greenland is basically the person collecting the tolls. And that is why a new kind of Cold War is heating up. Russia is building up its Arctic military. China is calling itself a near-Arctic state and planning a polar Silk Road. And the US? Well, the US wants to just buy the whole front door.
So there it is. Our two strange riddles from opposite ends of the Earth have led us to the exact same place. The melting of the world's ice is kicking off two very, very different kinds of conflicts.
And this really sums it all up. Down in the south, in Antarctica, it's a desperate struggle for survival. But up north, in the Arctic, it's a calculated human struggle for supremacy.
You know, that penguin's lonely walk was a small, heartbreaking symptom of a huge global change. And the race for Greenland, that's just a preview of the kinds of conflicts this change is going to create. It's like the ice is a curtain, pulling back, revealing a brand new stage for all of us. The only question left is, what kind of story are we going to write on it?